Hello there! Today we will be guiding you through a design flow diagram. Our first step is the roasting process. We first started out by measuring 105 grams of green Peru coffee beans. Through experimental brewing, we found that we enjoyed the fruity and tangy taste. Using a fresh roaster, we roasted the beans for 6 minutes at level 9 power and level 9 fan. Even though the fresh roaster used much more energy, we chose it because by giving the beans a light medium roast, it produced a fuller, smoother, and less acidic brew. It took 0.17 kilowatt hours to roast 105 grams of Peru beans. Here are the beans at the start of the roast. Here are the beans 2 minutes into the roast. Here are the beans 4 minutes into the roast. And here are the beans 6 minutes into the roast. Afterwards, we cooled the beans and stirred the beans on a wire mesh to remove the excess chaff. Starting with 105 grams of green beans, we ended up with 94.5 grams of roasted beans and 10.5 grams lost to chaff and other waste products such as volatile organic compounds and CO2. Next, we moved to the grinding step. We measured and ground 68.5 grams of roasted beans with a selected grind size of 18. Because we only used 68.5 grams of roasted beans instead of 94.5 grams, we adjusted the energy usage from 0.17 to 0.126 kilowatt hours. Afterwards, we started to prepare our brew's hot water. Using an electric kettle, we measured 1,042 grams of tap water. To conserve energy, we waited until the water reached room temperature of around 23 degrees Celsius. We started boiling the water until it reached a temperature of 94 degrees Celsius. The overall process used 0.09 kilowatt hours, and we lost 12 grams of water to steam. This leads us to the most important step, the brewing process. We chose to AeroPress our coffee because throughout the quarter we found that it provided the most preferred taste. We set up 5 AeroPress machines and fitted each press with a paper filter. To obtain a brew ratio of 15, we carefully added 13.7 grams of ground coffee to each AeroPress. We then added 205 grams of water to each AeroPress, giving 1 minute buffer times in between each machine to allow time for extraction. We let our coffee brew for 5 minutes. After waiting 5 minutes, we flipped the AeroPress and exerted gentle pressure on the press, extracting our coffee directly into a carafe. After extracting all 5 AeroPresses, we ended up with a final brew mass of 927 grams and a 166.5 grams of waste. We measured our brew's total dissolved solids, or TDS, and it came to a reading of 1.13. We also calculated our percent extraction by multiplying our TDS by our brew mass and dividing by our grounds mass. Our final percent extraction was 15.3%. Through our blind sensory evaluations, we said our brew contained tangy, citrus, and fruity tones such as a tomato and berry with a light and smooth taste. If we were to improve our final brew, we would have used an air crazy to roast our beans. The energy difference was quite astronomical, and that would have given us a much higher overall score. We originally chose the fresh roast because we were aiming to gain a higher taste score, but in the end, saving energy through roasting would have yielded us a higher overall score. We had so much fun this quarter, learning about the intricacies of this magical coffee bean.
Go, Austin, go!